Welcome to the table. I'm Bob, and this is Third Walling. I've spent nearly 30 years mastering one gaming system. I own every book, learned every quirk, got into a very specific groove. But then I got tired of the style. We tried a new game, and halfway through the first session, I saw phones out, books being rifled through, and looks of pure confusion on every face at the table. In that moment, I vowed never to try a new system again. I was ready to retreat back into my comfort zone and never ever leave. But Anonymous saved the day by running a short game and another new system, and helped me realize that the problem wasn't just trying a new system, it was choosing one that didn't match the story we were trying to tell. Sometimes we've got to change things up to keep the game fun, both for ourselves and for our players. Pull up a chair, pour a cold snack, and let's talk about it. When I was very young, my family was on a road trip, and we stopped at this little bookstore my mom had read about somewhere on our way through Ohio. Maybe it was Kentucky. That's where I found it. West End Games Star Wars Die 6. They had two versions, actually. The boxed introductory set and the second edition hardback. Both of them are on the shelf behind me to this day. Decades later, if I'm running a game, it's probably going to be in the Die 6 system. Whether it's fantasy, modern, or of course Star Wars. I've even dabbled in Ghostbusters. I love D&D, White Wolf, even Numenera, but my heart has always belonged to West End Games. And the Ginger. Just to be clear, also the Ginger. Love you. So, a few years ago, when my longtime gaming group and I decided to try something different, we were all incredibly excited to live in the world of one of our favorite new book series by exploring its new TTRPG system. We bought or borrowed the books, learned the rules, and spent 2 whole sessions working out our characters. And that should have been our first red flag. Our first session was a total disaster. Listen, we're grown adults. We've got college degrees, professional jobs, adult responsibilities. One of us is a literal engineer who solves complex math for fun on purpose. And after 4 hours, we couldn't figure out the basics of combat in a monster hunting game. Let me say that again. We couldn't shoot a gun at monsters in a monster hunting game. We were ready to crawl back into West End Games and never, ever leave. Thankfully, my brother and longtime co-DM, Third Walling's very own Anonymous, saved the day by stepping in to run a Numenera game for the group to give us a chance to get our feet back under us. It was also a new system for us, and became a much-needed break from West End Games and Dungeons & Dragons, probably 3.5 back then. Midway through the campaign, I remember looking around the table at my friends and realizing we're all laughing, we're snacking, we're just enjoying playing games together again. It was quite a change of attitude from the disaster we'd been through together just a few short weeks before. And honestly, that's what's really important to me. As a GM, as a player, these are my friends. Some of them have been gaming with me since the early 90s. And if they weren't having fun at my kitchen table, rolling math rocks, I was failing, as a GM and as a friend. That utter abomination taught us a few things, though. First, that system is the sour apple Skittles of TTRPGs. Nobody asked for it, and it has no business at my gaming table. But that reset made us feel like that little kid in the bookstore all over again. It was just what we really needed to invigorate our love for the game once more. I learned some important lessons from that failed session. Chief among those being that the system matters just as much as the story. If the system isn't right, the game is going to be a disaster, no matter how great a story the game master is trying to tell. To prevent that ever happening to my group again, I made a little checklist that helps me ensure the juice is worth the squeeze when I'm looking to change systems. First on the list, what's in it for me? We spent weeks learning that new system, and weeks more figuring out Numenera. When a new system comes out, part of the game is going to be learning how it works. If it was easy, I wouldn't have so much competition on YouTube. But changing systems should not be a chore, and it shouldn't be an obligation. Not for me, not for my players. Anonymous gave me a piece of advice years ago that I've tried to live by ever since. He said, the first rule at the table is make sure everyone is having fun. If a new system is doing that and the GM is able to keep up, we're all winning. But whether it's new faces I've picked up at a game shop, or the players I've been gaming with my whole life, if I look around the table and I see they're as mired in the new muck as I am, maybe it's time for us to go back to our comfort zone with West End Games or 5e, even Numenera. Try this system again, or a different one, later, when the time's right for it. That can be a hard thing to get over. My pride can get in the way. It'll tell me that switching systems and stopping a game mid-session is admitting defeat. But it's only defeat if you're losing, and when my players are having fun, we're all winning. Number 2, keep the story in mind. That monster hunting game should have been a fast-paced thrill ride of chasing down villains and earning bounties for being murder hobos. There should have been car chases, gunslinging, mayhem all around. But instead, we couldn't figure out how to shoot at a rat in newbie training, much less hunt down hacker trolls and French vampires. That system is probably fine for the right story, but the story we were trying to tell that day was fast-paced and crunch-free. Stopping mid-combat to calculate the slope of a line or the circumference of a circle just wasn't what we were looking for. So that's what we have to keep in mind when we're moving forward. The system's got to complete the story, not conflict with it. Do we want fast-paced chase mechanics and gunslinging? Savage Worlds, Pathfinder. Heck, there's some D&D settings that can fit. Or, when we're looking for a more collaborative storytelling model without crunch standing in the way of the story we're looking forward to, Numenera, Fate, those stay out of the way of the story and let it really shine. Whoever's GMing the game should consider the type of story they want to tell and match the system to that goal. That'll help ensure we all have fun at the table. Similar to that, the final item on my checklist is what's your tone. It's absolutely critical that the setting of the game match the tone of the story that the game master is looking to tell. In that disastrous game, we actually checked this box. The setting was hunting monsters in modern day, and that was exactly the story we sat down to enjoy. It was the other 2 points that kind of failed there. But when considering other games, you've got to really look at the tone of the story and the theme that the system relies on. Those two have to match. In some games, like some West End Games and Savage Worlds, that's pretty easy, because there are rules in the book for just about any setting, from fantasy to space operas and everything in between. That's why, if the table's feeling light and silly, we're probably going to reach for D6 Star Wars or the golden oldie that is 5th edition D&D, maybe even Pathfinder. Those systems lend themselves well to a more flippant, casual playstyle that lets a humorous story take the lead. Inversely, if we want gritty and rugged, we can lean into the gritty noir of Savage Worlds, the post-apocalyptic horror of Numenera, or the, well, horror of White Wolf's vampire games. Just like the system must complement the story, so should the setting. At the end of the day, when we find ourselves in a rut, we can't be afraid to spice things up. The worst that can happen is we admit it was a bad idea and go back to what we're good at. If the DM can't keep up and the players aren't having fun, the juice just isn't worth the squeeze. Make sure the mechanics match the story and the tone matches the table. I hate to think what might have happened if we'd kept going with that Monster Hunter game. Probably we'd have quit. And that idea has no appeal to me. We've been gaming together every Thursday since middle school. Quitting now would end a streak over 20 years in the making, and it'd be a real tragedy if our ego had cost us that streak. Change is hard, but a bad game is harder. Like and subscribe if you've ever felt stuck in a system rut, and jump in the comments section if you want to try to guess what game we all hated. Whatever you do, if you liked this content, hit like. If you want to see more, hit subscribe. And be sure to check us out at thirdwallin.com for the companion article to this video. Until then, be good, or be good at it. You got the juice.